Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ginger and Chocolate Podcast. I'm your co host, Lindsay, and Mike is out today. Actually, he's in Hawaii with his family enjoying the sun and the surf. Lucky bastard. Anyway, I am excited to be here with Amy Miller today from Reset Wellness. Excuse me. You guys may have read my blog post about my journey with peptides, and Amy is someone who's an expert in the subject, and I've worked with on part of my journey. So today we have Amy Miller. Hey, Amy, what's up?
Hi, good morning. I wish I was in Hawaii.
I know. Me too. I was like, take me with you, Mike.
Bastard is right.
That's right. So tell us a little bit about like your background in terms of, I think you said you're a nurse or a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So when I grew up, gosh, all I wanted to do was save animals. That was just me. So I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to college. So I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised, and went to college there. Didn't know what I wanted to major in. So I majored in philosophy and humanities, which,
Mm.
you can't do anything with, but it makes you a really fun person, I think. So it was a fun first degree, and then decided to, try my hand at banking. Not sure why. I figured I'd just get some money, travel the world, and then go back home to LA. But then I met my husband in Dallas, so that's where I stayed. So then I decided to go back, get another degree in nursing, and then did a bunch of nursing in the Dallas area, had so much fun, and decided to go back and get my nurse practitioner. So I got my master's just so I could be able to prescribe and diagnose
Mhm.
and interpret labs and sort of be my own independent practitioner. So that's where I am today.
Wow, that's awesome. And when did you start Reset Wellness, or why did you start Reset
Yeah,
Wellness?
so in 2022, I was working for a giant insurance company, doing house calls. So I was a community health nurse practitioner, which I loved. I loved visiting people in their homes. I thought it was so much fun.
Hmm.
But I realized that all of my patients, not all, but a very big majority, were either overweight or had all these comorbidities. And there's these novel GLP-1 medicines, right? The Manjaro, the
Hmm.
Ozempic that you're hearing about. And the
Yeah.
insurance company wanted me to go around and tout like we were all about preventative care, but we wouldn't cover any of these medicines to make them better in so many
Mm-hmm.
ways. So I said, pardon my French, screw that. I will make my own business, and I will start getting these medicines out to the people who need them affordably.
Hmm.
And so that's what I did. It was tough because I'm not a business person. I am not a salesperson. That's number one. And that's, I feel like sometimes you have to be that. Um,
Hmm.
but this was a labor of love. I still love it even more than when I started it. I've had so many great patients throughout this journey. It's just been the most
Hmm.
wonderful thing I've ever done in my career.
Well, that's awesome. And I appreciate the feedback you've given me. And I've referred you to people because I feel like what you're doing is super important. My experience was kind of what you're talking about, which is I was pre diabetic, or I am pre diabetic, and I was really, really close to where they would consider me type 2.
Mhm.
And I asked Kaiser, I had just gained weight during menopause. It just came on. So I'm super active, but it just was there
Mhm.
and all in my midsection, which apparently is a contributing factor to being, or can be, to being pre-diabetic and diabetic. So I talked to my doctor about like, could I get on Ozempic or some type of GLP-1 to help me with the weight loss because I'm doing what I should be doing. And in fact, when they called me to tell me that my blood work had come back, that I was pre-diabetic, the doctor said, well, normally I tell my patients to exercise and eat healthy, but you already do. So I don't really have any advice for you.
Thanks.
Just don't eat chocolate or whatever. I mean, it was really like, thanks.
Mhm.
So then I said, well, how about this? Could I maybe try to get the weight off and see if that would bring my numbers down? And they said, no, when you hit this number, we'll just put you on Manjaro. I mean, on metformin. And I know people are successful on metformin, but I was like, can we not do something now before
Mhm.
I'm already type 2? I mean, it seemed like that's not preventative. You're telling me I just need to wait. So I took it into my own hands.
I love it. And often you have to do that. You have to be your own advocate. And you do your
Hmm.
research, obviously. But a lot of
Yeah.
people don't have that background, don't know where to start. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, you did a great job.
Hmm. Well, it was a friend of mine um, who had been considered. I mean, I didn't realize this because I knew she was overweight, but I didn't consider her to be obese or anything like that. But apparently, technically, she qualified, and she still wasn't going to get, like you were saying, she still wasn't going to be able to get the GLP-1s through a prescription.
Hmm.
But really needed to do something. Like her doctor was like, "You really need to do
And
something."
you
But
touched
you're
on
tr-
something that was really important is that most primary care, and I can say that because I used to do that, we don't have a lot of time with our patients. We don't know a lot about these
Mhm.
medicines. And so, yeah, our first inclination is, oh, your labs are going up, run more. Eat better.
Right.
And oftentimes, and especially in my patient population is like you. They're active. They eat well. Sure, we could do better here
Mhm.
and there, but it's all these other factors, right? Age, menopause, insulin
Mhm.
resistance. It's all these other factors that we're not taking into account. Okay, we'll eat less chocolate. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's not helpful.
It did nothing for me
Mhm.
except for make me angry to eat less chocolate.
Yes.
It just made me crabby. Um, but so this friend of mine went to a place called the IV Bar in San Carlos, here where we live, and because she had noticed they had a thing that said like medical weight loss or something on, and it was a nurse practitioner, and they got her started on the terzepatide Manjaro, and it immediately started helping her, and she told me about it, so I went there. But like you said, not not affordable
Yep.
in the long run. And the same friend is the one who found you on Instagram, and
Yay.
and
Miss
she sent
no
me your
social
information.
media. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean it's great, and so if you don't mind, just because I know probably most of our listeners aren't well versed or if at all, in what these GLP-1s are and kind of how they work, is it possible for you to kind of just go through quickly and say a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So there are three GLPs that we're working with these days. Two of them are approved by the FDA for obesity. They have already been approved for diabetes type 2 for a long time. But the reason we're hearing about these in mainstream is because the FDA did approve them for obesity, which is why we're using them a lot these days. So they're not new. That's what I like to stress with my patients. These have been around for a long, long time. They're very safe. They're very effective. So three major drugs. The first one you hear semaglutide. Obviously, that's Ozempic or Wegovy. It's the same name. This works on one receptor, so it's a one receptor GLP receptor agonist. What it does is it stimulates the glucagon like peptide in the gut to promote satiety. So when you take it, obviously once a week, it makes you feel like you're full and you're happy and it slows that gut down a little bit. So that's
Mhm.
the one receptor. Then there's terzepatide, which you hear called the brand name Manjaro and Zepbound. And this hits that GLP-1 in addition the GIP. So that's an additional receptor. So you'll find that that is a little more effective with less side effects. Um,
Mhm.
then the retatrutide, this is the newest one that's being studied by Eli Lilly. It's a three receptor agonist. So it hits that GLP-1, the GIP, and the glucagon receptor. So we're finding that it's outperforming tirzepatide, um,
Mm.
it- again, with less side effects. So there's three to choose from.
Mm. And I am taking terzepatide, and what I have found that I really like about it is, of course, there's the getting to satiety faster, so I don't need to overeat to get there, but also the food noise has reduced. So I'm an accountant, so I sit at my desk all day, and so there's a thing in my head that's like snack time, at mid morning and in the afternoon, especially in the afternoon when I'm tired, it's like, let's have some, and where I work from home a lot, but when I'm in the office, we've got this whole room of snacks, and none of them are healthy, really, and so that desire to eat all that extra food has just been, lessened. It's almost gone.
Yeah.
I just don't even think about it, which is an amazing part of this drug, is just that the quieting of that sort of compulsivity.
Yes, I've had so many patients call me or email me after their first injection and tell me, Amy, I didn't know what a normal person felt like. I have
Mhm.
always, started every morning with what am I going to eat? And then on vacation, where are we going to eat? Not what are we going to do? So it's
Mhm.
changing so many people's perspectives and lives. I don't say that lightly. It's really interesting.
I've heard tell that that these drugs are so effective, and it's having such a huge, positive impact on our society, that it's sort of changing the what's in the grocery store and what people are focusing on, and that food providers, like, fast food providers and stuff, are a little bit uh, scared, I guess, of what's coming, because people are not as interested in just going and eating a bunch of greasy food, because it it doesn't feel as good, or taste as good on this drug. Or at least that's been my
That's
experience too.
exactly right. And you
Hmm.
always follow that money trail. You don't want to keep people
That's
healthy,
right.
right? You want to keep them happy. And sometimes that
That's
means
right.
off the drug. Happy means, you know, that gross food. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally, totally. Um, So, on our show, we talk a lot about endurance sports, because both Mike and I have been triathletes for years and years. And so it's sort of a combination of like mental health, physical health. And I know that something that I'm getting from you on top of the tirzepatide is the ipamorelin with samorelin, and it's really helping my recovery, my sleep, and then just recovering faster after my workouts. And I'm taking a small therapeutic dose. I know that I think at high doses, probably uh, it would be an issue if I was going to be racing. In the Tour de France or something, they might have a doping issue, but I'm not. I'm doing age group amateur. So, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't. I just know the only thing I know about it is that it works. It's working really well for me.
Mhm.
I don't know how it works, or kind of what it is.
Yeah. So oh gosh, in the peptide world, there are so many amazing peptides to use for all different kinds of things. The types of medicine, the sermorelin, ipamorelin, those types of medicines actually stimulate the anterior pituitary gland to release HGH, or human growth hormone. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, this is a natural process in our bodies. When we're younger, right, we're releasing a lot of HGH. This usually happens at nighttime, is when the spike happens. Human growth
Oh,
hormone makes us stronger, and anything that you think of when you're young, you're peppier, your skin is better, you're at your peak physical level, right, when you're that age.
yeah.
So that's what it does. It stimulates the human growth hormone to just make you physically peak. Of course, you're taking those micro doses, right, which can help a
Mm-hmm.
lot with just recovery, tissue repair,
Mm-hmm.
everything that you think of when you think of HGH, human growth hormone. It's
Mm-hmm.
just fantastic.
Yeah, I like it, because I'm afraid of taking and I don't know why, it's just in my head, but of like a synthetic or whatever HGH.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with the more natural production and within my body.
Yep.
That seems, to me, it just feels good. But I will say I'm spending more money now on little things like I always have my nails done, but I used to go every 2 to 3 weeks. And now by the 2 week mark, I'm like, I need to go, because my nails are growing so much
You know
faster.
what? Good problem to have. Good
It
problem
is.
to
I was
have.
like, what?
Yeah.
I went in at 2 weeks, and the person who does my nails, she was like, it's only been 2 weeks, right? And I said, I know. And she said, why does it look like, and I said,
You said
I didn't,
reset wellness.
that's right. I was like, I'm taking a thing. I was trying to explain it to her. English is not her first language. So I was kind of like, it's taking a thing. It's helping me recover. It's making my nails grow. And she was like, well, they're really growing. So,
I love it. I mean, it helps with muscle recovery and even improves
mhm.
sleep, and it just supports anti-aging. So you can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I know you have other that you work with other athletes. I'm just curious about other types of peptides that you recommend to them and kind of what they are and why or what they would be for
Yeah.
what type of
I
athlete.
would say my most popular and honestly the most effective other peptide that I provide is the BPC 157. It's often referred to as that healing peptide. It's
Mm,
amazing. I have personal friends who are dirt bike riders,
mm.
other friends who have just been hurt in car accidents, etc. And I've seen this firsthand work on them and almost immediately. It basically just supports tissue repair and reduces inflammation, and it aids in recovery from injuries. So, a real funny
Ah,
story, I have a neighbor who's a very close friend, and he broke his back riding dirt bikes and has,
oh,
shoulder tears. He hasn't been able to turn his steering wheel in six years, right, with one hand. So I
wow.
got a video from him a few weeks ago. Amy, look at this. He started BPC 157 a couple months ago. He took a picture of himself turning the wheel with one hand. He goes, "This is crazy." So the
Wow.
BPC is amazing. I even have my sister taking it to heal her gut issues. She's always had GI
Ah,
issues.
mm-hmm,
It's actually
mm-hmm.
made from gastric acids, which is really, really interesting.
Huh.
So that's probably one of the ones that I've seen personally help so much. Um, there's
Is that
CJC 1295. There's AOD 9604. There's just amazing peptides.
so the one that you were just talking about, is it BPC?
Yes,
Is that what you said?
BPC
BPC
157.
157. Now, is that something I could stack on top of the things that I'm already
You
taking, the
certainly could.
epimorelin and
Yes.
okay. The reason I'm asking is because I have some injury that I'm trying to recover from. And it's an ongoing thing that I've had. It's back problems. I have herniated disc, and then I have bursitis in my hip, and I just keep getting, everything keeps getting inflamed.
Yes.
And so I'm currently just in a 2 week phase of not doing any working out because everything got super inflamed and I was like limping around.
Mhm.
This was after just a bike ride that it wasn't even a particularly hard bike ride. It wasn't long. It wasn't anything. I just did one climb. And when I got to the top of it, I had this, sharp pain in my back. And I was like, oh no, here we go
Here we
again.
go.
And so, they gave me cortisone shots, which helps definitely with the pain, but there's not really a whole lot of healing there. And I can still feel that things aren't exactly right. So I might try
We're
this
trying BPC
option.
157 for you.
Okay.
Yes, you're going to be another one of my personal success stories.
That would be great. I would love that because it gets frustrating, when you are trying to do things that are good for you and healthy, and then here you go, and then you have these little injuries and setbacks. At least I find it very frustrating because I'll make 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or whatever, and then and with endurance sports, it's consistency is kind of the key um, to having a good time. For example, when you are riding with your teammates, you can't just get on your bike after not being on there for weeks.
Yeah.
And so that getting rid of these little injuries would be awesome. I'm super excited.
We'll get you going, Lindsay.
Good. So what do you do outside of, like, just on a personal level? What do you do outside of your company? Because I know you've got a lot of people
Yes.
contacting you all the time for Reset Wellness, and but what else do you do?
So our favorite things to do are go camping. So we moved from Dallas to the middle of the woods, Colorado, which is wonderful. So a city of
Ooh,
50 million, it seems like, to 8,500,
whoa.
which is wonderful. And so we've got two little kids. They're 4 and 6. They love to be outside. We love to be outside with them. So when it's not snowing, we are RVing. We are packing up, taking the dogs, and heading out to the woods.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
What a nice lifestyle. I love
it's
Colorado.
so beautiful.
I would move there if I could get Josh away from the ocean, but he likes to surf.
Yep.
So
No surfing
so
here. He could snowboard.
nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's what I keep saying. I'm like, ooh, we could cross country ski, but he's born and raised here, and I would have to, over his dead body
Yeah.
before we
I
move
could
somewhere.
get
But
you some
I
medicine
personally,
to put him down to take him on the flight. So
yeah, exactly. That would be great.
sorry,
Just
Josh.
wake up like this is our house now in Colorado.
Exactly.
um, well, that's awesome. So 4 and 6, you're right in the thick of it. It
Oh
seems
boy.
like kid wise.
Yes.
My kids are turning 30 and
Oh
27
my
this year,
gosh.
which is crazy. I can't believe how old they are.
You must be
They're
using
still my
peptides.
babies.
Look at your beautiful face. That's amazing. You don't even look that old to have a 30-year-old.
I'm that old. I'm on the other side of it. I mean, I'm 54, and I don't feel 54 necessarily. Uh, some days I do. You know what I mean? With the back.
When you're
Recently, I've been
doing
like,
your
oh
uphill
no,
climbs only. Right.
that's
Yeah.
right. Like, okay, maybe I am 54. But in general, I don't feel 54. I definitely not as mature as a 54-year-old should
Which
be.
is
So,
good.
yeah, I'm young at heart. I'm young at heart.
Yeah.
Um, but but on a serious note, taking these peptides has really helped me feel younger and be able to be more myself. I felt really bogged down, exhausted, and overweight going through the whole process of perimenopause and menopause. I raced an Ironman, a full Ironman with my team in 2019, and I was in menopause then. I wasn't even 50 yet, but I went kind of early, and I gained weight while training for an
Oh my
Ironman, which
gosh.
is hard to do. You know what I mean? Because we're doing 15 hours plus of cardio a week with some strength training, and my body was like, I'm saving all of this no matter what. It was
Yep.
crazy. So there was no lifestyle change or diet that was going to make a difference. There just wasn't. Between 2019 and getting on tirzepatide, I tried everything. I mean, I tried everything. Vegan eating, which partially for me that's the animal thing. I love animals. So,
Hmm.
but um, but eating just tons and tons and tons of vegetables and sweet potatoes, and cutting out sugar, and then eating meat but eating really low carb, and then I mean I've tried all of the
Yeah,
diets.
this is a
um,
cellular thing. This is a hormonal thing,
mhm.
and that's what these medicines help with.
Right. I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding, and so people who don't know think, um, oh, Ozempic is something that movie stars take and they're crazy because it's not used for that. And that's not true. That's not realistic. And I
Exactly.
had, I had someone say, oh, you're taking knockoff Ozempic because they didn't know the name tirzepatide or Manjaro. And I
Hmm.
was like trying to explain they're different, they're similar, they're different, they're peptides. And I think people who could really use this sometimes don't want to take a step to get out there and advocate for themselves or find their own source because they think there's something wrong with it, like from a cultural perspective. Not that it's dangerous for your body, but that there's something not okay
Yeah.
about getting this kind of help.
I'll tell you,
Um,
most of my patient, well, a huge majority of my patients come to me after doing research for 6+ months.
wow.
And that's as a result of the cultural, of our society and how we see these meds. Oh, it's just to starve yourself and lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. At a
Right.
cellular level, this helps so many people. I
Mm-hmm.
quickly
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to tell you the other patients that I help with these medicines that you wouldn't necessarily think would be using these. Um, Women who are going through menopause, premenopause, even postmenopause, who are having hormonal issues, they'll come to me and ask for hormone replacement, which is what I do
Mm-hmm.
also. But
Ah.
what I say is, hey, let's try a low dose of a GLP-1 because
Mm-hmm.
it promotes this anti inflammatory. It acts as a hormone. And most of my women won't even start hormone therapy because they're doing so stinking well on the GLP. So,
Mm-hmm.
number one, those women are helped immensely. Number two, some of the biggest the best experiences that I've had with the GLP-1s is patients with PCOS, with polycystic ovarian syndrome, where
Oh.
PCOS patients usually have these strong hormonal imbalances, which leads to
Mhm.
weight gain, which leads to inflammation. So at low doses, my PCOS patients have been the best experiences. They call me and email me all the time. Amy, I can't believe I didn't do this earlier. So at very low
Mhm.
doses, they do amazing. They just feel wonderful. And in a lot of cases, it regulates their periods again, which is really
Wow.
interesting. And then
Huh.
the third patient that I'm seeing more and more are patients with autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid
Mhm.
arthritis and lupus and psoriatic arthritis. These
Wow.
patients, again, at very low doses, are doing amazing.
Hmm.
Just that inflammation. Um, that you can even take the lab work after 2 or 3 months of taking
Mhm.
these GLP-1s, and their CRP, their inflammatory labs are way less. So
Wow.
it's really exciting. There's lots and lots of research being done for these types of patients. Um,
Mhm.
in addition to one other one that I wanted to tell you because it's so
Yeah.
exciting. So, for alcohol drug addiction, these medicines are being researched very heavily because of that whole food noise, right? So, the food
Mhm.
noise reduction also helps reduce the desire for alcohol and for drugs. And I did see one patient recently. Who had a spending addiction. And she told me
Oh.
once she was off semaglutide, she went and rung up her credit cards to $50,000. She said,
Woo.
Amy, I got to get back on these meds. And as soon as
Mhm.
she gets back on them, she's completely fine. So there's just some really
Wow.
interesting, really great research being
Mhm.
done with these GLP-1s.
That's amazing. I'd heard a little bit about using it for alcoholism and drug addiction because I'm sober. I've been sober for 21 years, and I'm very active in the 12-step program. And it's funny because, uh, you know, 12 steps one option. It's a successful option. There is just a very low success rate of recovery from drugs and alcohol. I'm just very fortunate that myself and majority of my friends and stuff are sober, and we've had longevity in our sobriety. But in the literature, it talks about one day they may invent a pill to cure alcoholism, but until then, this is the best path forward. And so when I read the first time I read about that it's being researched. I think Lilly is doing some research on using it for drug and alcohol
Mm-hmm.
addiction. I was like, oh my gosh, they're like actually because that book of Alcoholics Anonymous was written like in the 30s, and so in the 30s they were saying one day they may invent a pill, and I'm like, they literally are doing that right now, which is
Watch
kind
out,
of
AA.
exciting.
You're going out of business.
Yeah, I'm like, well, whatever work, anything that someone can get that can help them with this uh, is
It's a
great, and it's good
positive.
for us. Hmm.
Absolutely. The healthier we
Hmm.
can be, the less stress we put on the medical system, the less resources we use, the better off the
Hmm.
system will be. I mean, you got to think
Yeah.
long term in this, and this can
Hmm.
help fix our system. Obviously, it's
Hmm.
a big problem, but
Hmm.
by starting at being the healthiest we can be, this will definitely take a stress off
Hmm.
the system.
Hmm. Yeah, and I read Peter Attia's book Outlive, and he talks a lot about well, it's just only about longevity, and he calls them the four horsemen. I think it's diabetes, cancer, brain stuff like dementia, and then and let's see, what was the fourth one? Diabetes, cancer, oh,
Heart
heart
disease.
disease,
Yeah.
and in the section about diabetes, he's off talking about a lot about type 2 because the not all but the bulk of them, I mean, I was still in the normal BMI range, but I had this like fat around the center, which is really the issue. This visceral fat is what I have packed around my organs, and this is helping with that. But he was just talking about the idea of really changing our medical system so that it it's not reactive. Like right now, they're like, okay, well, you have type 2 diabetes now, so let's give you metformin or whatever that they're going to give you. Instead of waiting, being more proactive is what's going to help us. And in the book, this was one of the things I was thinking about when I decided to try this, was like, if you want longevity, you need to address problems that are cropping up as soon as you know about them, not when they become the worst version of themselves. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the amount of cardiologists putting their patients on these medicines is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
They are they are really following the research and really promoting and advocating for these medicines. They're so wonderful.
Yeah, they really are. One other thing I get from you, which is not a peptide as far as I know, but it does seem to really help me just feel better in general, is the BioBoost mix. And can you talk a little bit about the BioBoost and what's in the BioBoost?
Yes, the BioBoost is great. Something I took myself as a provider. You'll hear a lot about weight loss and B12. And, I don't mean to talk poorly about anybody, but I do feel like it's kind of a money grab in a lot of ways. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
here, take this and this. It's just an additive.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my patients who've just taken B12 itself, unless they were severely deficient in B12, it doesn't really blow their hair back. They can't really
Mm-hmm.
notice a difference. But BioBoost is made up of three or four B vitamins, so B6, B12, B3, B5. All of these things are different and good for different reasons, right? Energy, skin, and then
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the B vitamins, they have 5 amino acids. And
Oh,
so
nice.
most of them have methionine, inositol, choline, arginine, carnitine. And these are sort of the 5 amino acids that are in usual BioBoosts.
Mm-hmm.
What you do is you inject this subcutaneously or intramuscularly. It helps with energy. It helps
Mm-hmm.
basically an amino acid helps fat be transported into a cell. So then the cell can use that fat for energy. So it helps
Mm-hmm.
with energy. It helps with, increasing the metabolism. It's a wonderful complement to the GLP-1, especially for those patients who feel a little fatigue after the
Mm-hmm.
GLP-1. It's a really great
Mm-hmm.
addition. I've taken it myself just because I had overwhelming great comments with the BioBoost. So
Mm-hmm.
I was taking that myself and I loved it. I take a few of these peptides too.
Yeah, I do like it. I'm someone who the number one side effect for me from tirzepatide was fatigue,
Yeah.
or just I mean literal sleepiness. I was like, I need to take a little nap now, which was fine, but sometimes it's not convenient. I'm like in the middle of working and I'm like, I am so tired. It was always the day after I took it, and I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the BioBoost, and I feel fortunate. I don't have any side effects from the tirzepatide. I did at first. My body needed to adjust, so I was a little queasy, tired. Started taking the BioBoost. I don't have any side effects now. I know a couple of friends are on it and they take BioBoost and they still have a tiny bit of queasiness, but it's manageable, and it's very short lived. And then the fatigue though is gone, which is great,
Yes.
which is great.
Especially when
So
you're, traveling up mountains on your bike and
that's right.
doing
Yeah, I want to
Ironmans.
be able to. I want to be able to work and then do play stuff. You know what I mean? And so,
Lindsay,
so
you are
being able to
such a
take my
badass.
oh,
Yes.
thank you for saying that. I don't necessarily feel that way right now, because of being kind of waylaid by my back pain and those kinds of things, which you're going to help
Yeah. Let's
fix for
get you
me.
on the
So I appreciate
BPC and then we'll talk
that.
again.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's good. And I will say I just had lab work done, and my numbers have backed off from that being on that like nice edge of being type 2. So I'm really, really happy with the numbers. And in fact, my doctor was super happy. The only thing that I was little low on is potassium. And I'm not sure how or what that means. He's like, eat more bananas and
Less
potatoes.
chocolate.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. I was like, all right, I'll eat more bananas and potatoes. I'm like, do potato chips count? Except that I don't really want those. That's the problem, is that they don't appeal so much. But the other thing that I do, and I don't know if you recommend this, but it seems to be helping me, is is to drink electrolytes every day with my,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
that's great. You can overdo it. That's a question that I get. So, one pack a day would be plenty for most. Of course, someone as active as you could use more. One thing
Mhm.
I wanted to say about low potassium is sometimes people drink too much water. You think,
Mm.
oh, that can't happen. Well, it does. You can actually make your electrolytes lower with drinking too much water. Of course, this is a
Oh.
very big amount. This is not the
Mhm.
60 ounces minimum that you're thinking a day. This is a ton of water. It actually drops your osmolality in your blood. I've had lots
Huh.
of people I knew who were marathoners who drank too much water, ended up in the hospital
Mhm.
because their electrolytes were so low. So,
Ah.
yeah, I think those liquid IVs and those little powders that you can stick in your water
Mhm.
are fantastic. I get that question a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using liquid IV, and then I um, will take a break every couple days, and I'll use the Element, which is the
Yes.
salty one. It's so tasty to me. I love salt. I love salty stuff. So I'm like, ooh, it's Element Day. Yay.
Yay.
Well, gosh, this has been super interesting. Do you have anything else you want to share with the audience?
No, I hope that people will open their minds a little to these medicines and all the great
Mhm.
things they can do. I don't like the stigma that's attached to them because there are so
Mhm.
many patients, so many people, excuse me, that could do so well on them. And
Mhm.
what they haven't started for is because of the stigma that's attached to them. Um,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
once it's more mainstream and once the studies come out to show how
Mhm.
much good it can do for things like PCOS and autoimmune disorders, um, even mood stabilization,
Mhm.
alcohol and drug addiction, they will be more mainstream and the stigma will be detached. But I think just keep an open mind and let's all be healthy.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to um, be quote unquote out about this on my podcast and on my, I wrote a blog post, a couple of blog posts about it, is because I feel like, when there were people who were sort of famous who are taking it, they don't want to say, they'll say, oh, diet and exercise. And when really they're on a GLP-1
Exactly.
and it's not helpful to everybody else, and there's no shame in it. It's like, I found a solution that works for me. I think that that's pretty amazing. And I like to share things that I find with other people um, who could benefit from it. And so I'm hoping that the stigma kind of goes away too, because it makes such a huge difference in my life and the lives of all of the people that I now know that are on it. It's sort of like spreading, like from my one friend to me to another of our friends. It's kind of like spreading out like
I
that.
love that. And that's how stigmas become not stigmas, right? Is it's
Uh-huh.
open out in the open. I get all these emails. They're my favorite emails to get. Amy, I rode a roller coaster for the first time in 20 years because I could fit in it. Amy, I hit
Oh,
my non-scale goal victory. I said, what is that? I sat in an airplane without an extender. Do you know what a big deal that
oh.
is? So, I mean, it's changing lives and making people happier.
Mhm.
And that's so important.
That must be an amazing feeling if you are someone who had to get the extender on an airplane, because it's not, I've seen one or two people need that, and it's sort of a process where everybody around you now knows that you need it, and it's a little bit shame producing, and
Oh, a
just the way
lot
that
bit
they're
shame producing. They feel terrible. It's so
Mhm.
sad.
Yes, yes. And so to be able to not have that must be just like so mind blowing, so mind
Yes.
blowing. I'm going to put in the show notes link to your Instagram page so people can DM you if that's the best way, or however you want me to do it.
Yeah,
So
and
listen.
people can email me directly too. I think that's what's important about my business is that you can talk to me directly if you need to. You're not going through
Okay.
18 channels of people. You'll never hear from me.
Right.
I mean, that's important to be an open book and there for questions.
Hmm.
And I'm happy to help anybody who needs anything.
Great. So we'll put the Instagram and your email address in the show notes. So anyone who's interested, I will say I just had, my first contact with you. We just had a quick call and figured out what I needed. It was very pain free, and I felt like if I had said, oh, I'm not ready, I don't want anything, you would have said, okay,
But that happens
and
a
so there was
lot.
no pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. And that's okay. I mean, this is really important stuff. You're injecting your body with things. I want everybody to feel comfortable.
Hmm.
One thing I
Hmm.
tell my patients is that, safety is always my priority. And I would never, my philosophy with my business was I would never give anything to anyone I wouldn't give my own mother. And guess who was my first patient? My mother. And she's doing fantastic. She used to
That's
be on
awesome.
insulin and now she's completely off. So she's doing
Wow.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple more things. I know I was wrapping it up, but I just thought of a couple of things. One is, I stopped taking my hormone replacement therapy when I started taking tirzepatide. Just initially, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to take both of these or what's going to happen or how's. So I thought, let me just try the tirzepatide and stop. And I've never actually gone back on, and I feel great.
Yes.
So this was a big deal for me. And then the other piece of it is because I wanted to share with the listener, it is these are injected, but it's subcutaneously. So it's like a tiny, tiny needle. You don't have to get it into your muscle. You don't have to find a vein. You don't have to do any of those things. It's like just this little tiny pinprick. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. A friend of mine's a nurse. She said, I can do it for you, because she's also on it. She's like, I can do it for you, but you honestly can do it for yourself. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to try. And if I freak out, then she was going to come over. And because the first few I got was at that, like I mentioned, at that IV bar. So they did it
Yeah.
for me. Um, and actually, I thought, okay, let me just try it. And I went boop, and it went right in. And I was like, well, this is super easy. So
Yeah.
I never actually needed that help. So don't let the fact that it's injectable, if you're listening, don't let that fact
Deter
keep
you.
you from,
Yeah. And we have
deter you.
oral
Yeah.
options too. They're not my favorite because they're not as effective, but they do work. So if
Hmm.
it's somebody who's completely averse to injectables, first of all,
Yeah.
don't be. My most needle phobic patients do it themselves and they're so proud. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was great for me to talk to you. I'm going to separately email you about my own stuff, and we'll put your information in the show notes so people can reach out to you directly. And just listeners, try it, check it out if it's something that is interesting you. If you have inflammation, if you have if you're overweight or have issues with food noise, all of the reasons that we talked about, I recommend just having a conversation with Amy about it to see if she can help you. Pretty sure she can. And we will see you next week.
Thank you,
All
Lindsay. And
right.
thanks for taking the stigma away from this.
Thank you. Bye.